Hey there everyone, what's up? Back today with another impressions video. And today I'm going to be talking about Demon Gaze on the PS Vita. And Demon Gaze here is of course another first-person dungeon crawler. I say of course because lately I've been playing a lot of these. But this is probably the last one for a little while. But Demon Gaze came out recently on the Vita, and it's made by Kadokawa Games. I don't think they made it. I think Experience made it, but Kadokawa Games is the probably the distributor, but or the publisher. But they did a couple of other games of the same style, uh, Students of the Round and Labyrinth Cross Blood. But this one is their newest one, and if you and Demon Gaze. First, let me talk about it. Uh, First, I want to say that it did actually fix some of the problems I had with Students of the Round. The main one being that Students of the Round was ridiculously easy. I mean, it was like Fisher Price, My First Dungeon Crawler easy. And Demon Gaze actually has some difficulty to it. So, uh, for example, in Students of the Round, when I died, it was usually because I just wasn't paying attention. Like I just hit auto battle and like not look at the screen or something, and then I'd look away and I'd be dead or something. But in this game, in some, not the normal battles. In the normal battles, you could just auto battle for most things, but um, for the bosses, you actually had to think about the parties you made, and not necessarily for the characters you chose, but for the kind of strategy used to fight each boss, which was nice. It was a nice kind of up in the difficulty from the previous games that this same style from the same company. But so let's talk about it. First, there's a story, and it's not incredibly deep, but it's interesting enough. Mostly, your character is a demon gazer who he's like a half demon who can kind of capture other demons with his eye and use them as kind of helpers, I guess is the best way to explain it. They're not they're like a sixth party member. You normally have five party members, but then you can call the demon as a kind of sixth party member that you can't control. It just automatically does what it's going to do, I guess. But in most cases, it's not exactly like a sixth party member. It has like a limited amount of use before it goes out of control and starts killing your party. So you can't use it unlimitedly. You have to kind of keep track of its power and stuff. Which, adds a bit of strategy also, which is nice. And each kind of demon has their own special focus, which is helpful against certain bosses. So, and the demons that you're collecting are all the bosses. So usually the one before it is usually helpful against the next one if you go in order. And mostly you have to go in order, except for the last two. But generally, it's pretty good. Um, so let me talk about the characters also. Your main character is set, but not set. I mean, he's set as a demon gazer. You can't choose the class, but you can choose what it looks like. So it doesn't have to be the set character that's on the cover. But generally, I think you'll probably pick that and use all the other character pictures, I guess, for the characters you actually make. And there usually are a bunch of. You can make characters yourself, unlike the other games where you couldn't actually make your characters. I think you can in Labyrinth Cross Blood, but in Students of the Round you couldn't. But in this game, you can make your own party. So there's, I believe, 8 classes. There might be more, but I think it's 8. 8 classes to choose from where you can create your own party depending on how you want to create it. And there's a bunch of different races also. 4 or 5 different races, I believe. But each one has. Oh, let's see. I could probably count them. There's humans, elves, dwarves, Ney, which are like cat people, and Migmies, which are like, I don't know, little perpetually 5 years old. They all look like they're 5 years old dog people or something. They have like long ears. Um, but yeah, that's your character types. And the art style in this game, it's quite different than the other games. The other ones are more realistic looking, I guess, more serious, I'd say. But the character portraits and the monsters really are all quite. It's a new style. I want I want to say it's like half the characters are like lowlies, I want to say. I don't know how to explain that. They look like, 5-year-olds. And yeah, I'm not really a fan of that. I know a lot of people are. They like that style. It's popular in Japan, but I'm not a huge fan of that kind of thing. Um, I just kind of put up with it. It really, Labyrinth Cross Blood is also getting ported to the Vita soon, and it has the new like lowly version of the characters. But I'm just gonna switch it back to the classic version because I prefer that. But I know it's pretty popular actually. It's a popular style for games in Japan, um, because people like that stuff. I guess not me though. But anyway, the characters themselves, the NPCs and you come in contact with, they're all kind of freaks. They're goofy weirdos mostly. You have like this crazy elf who is like probably like some kind of bisexual who likes taking his clothes off and trying to get people to hang out with him. And you have like a kind of blacksmith who is always being kind of annoyed by the elf, and they have the shops right next to each other, so they're constantly fighting. And then you have like a hairstylist who's like this little dude with a huge green afro, and you have the little cat girl maid who is kind of like a naive sex maniac or something. I don't know. It's the kind of like weird thing you'd expect from a game with lowly art, I think. And maybe that's just my own personal kind of like I don't know, deduction of that kind of thing. 'Cause I don't normally play a ton of games that have that same kind of art style, but my image of them is pretty similar to how the characters were in this game. Kind of weird. Not weird in like a strange way. Weird in a not a serious kind of way. So, what else? The dungeons are. Let's get off the characters. The dungeons. Dungeons are good. They're pretty varied. There's a lot of different stages. You have, various towns and castles and caves and things. Your standard kind of RPG fare, except they're all done pretty nicely, and each area usually has like its own kind of separate connection to another area. So you have like a castle area that has a second half that's on fire, and then you have an underwater area where you can't use magic, and of course you have caves and forests and things which each have their own kind of special character to them, in that like there's usually some kind of gimmick in each stage that's connected to you know the stage environment. So like in the forest stage you have lots of traps where it's like thorns and things that will damage you, or like in the castle stage with the fire you have fire traps, and underwater you can't use magic and stuff like that. So, and there's some teleporting stages and stuff which are a little annoying, but other than that, there's it's a pretty like straightforward progression through the game. Though there's not a ton of side quests. There are a few, but most of the side quests are things you have to do to progress in the game. So you'll find them, and then you'll like get to a point where you can't continue. There's no story. There's no story mission to go to. So you have just side quests left, and like if you talk to anybody, they'll be like, why don't you try and do some side quests? And then after you do that, you find like, oh, okay, if I do this, then the story continues. So even the side quests are not really side quests. So it's a little sparse in terms of that. Another thing was that there are a lot of items in the game, and I want to say there's grinding for items, in that you don't normally have to grind in this game. It's not necessary. I mean, I finished the game at level maybe 39 or so. With my main character, I was like level 39, I think, when I finished the game. And you don't have to grind, but for experience anyway. But to get better weapons, you have to go to these kind of trap points. I don't remember what they're called. They're not trap points. That's from the other game, but it's the same kind of thing. It's like a little area where you have to put down crystals. And when you put down the crystals, some monsters will appear, and they'll drop whatever type of weapon that matches the crystals you put down. So if you have like sword crystals and you put 3 sword crystals down, you'll get 3 swords after the battle. And you can do other things. There's armor and weapons and stuff. So you'll find like sometimes in the game that you might come to like a difficult point, and you'll have to, do a little bit of grinding. You have to collect a bunch of crystals, and then keep going to the trap points and dropping crystals and fighting monsters and coming back. And it's not really like you need the experience, because you don't really, but the weapons you get are random. So sometimes you'll get like a sword plus 30 or something, and then next time you'll get like garbage. So it's a little grindy in that sense, in that if you're not lucky, you might have to do the same thing over and over again. And that's not it's not terrible. So it's not it didn't take me a long time to beat it either. Maybe 40 hours. I want to say, I could check, but I'm not going to do that. I think it's about 40 hours. It wasn't incredibly long. Um, what else? There are some problems I had beyond the items. Like, the items are there's a lot of different items, but a lot of them have the same effect. So you'll have like um, for example, some kind of medicine to get rid of paralysis, but beer will get rid of paralysis also. So it's kind of like redundant. You have a lot of redundant items. You have a lot of food items that just heal you, and there's like 20 different ones that give you a little bit of health back. So it's like not having a different item. They just have a different name, and they take up more space in your inventory, which is not exactly the best thing. But what else? Beyond that, um, though most of the boss battles were good in the sense that you actually had to think about what you did. There's one battle in the game towards the end that's kind of a gimmick battle, in the sense that it's a boss where you have to fight. You have to do like a huge amount of damage in a small amount of time before the boss heals its entire health back. And it's like you have 3 turns to kill the boss, or it heals all its health back, and you have to start over. And that was a little annoying because it took like a really specific character kind of party to get it done, and I had to like create a new extra character and grind them up to level 20 or so, while my other characters were in their 30s. But I ground a character up to level 20 just to use them as support in this battle, so that I could finally do enough damage using one special ability of that one class that I didn't use throughout the game. And I thought that was kind of annoying, in the sense that like there wasn't really an option to not do it. You had to do it that way. Um, if someone if someone can do it, I'm talking about, there's like a battle with a shield that you need to get to continue in the game, and you have to fight like a kind of golem or something that's protecting the shield. And if someone can do it without using an assassin, please tell me how, because I couldn't figure it out. I tried like a bunch of different ways, but I couldn't do enough damage without using this kind of bind ability. But I thought that was kind of annoying. But after that, everything else was fine. The final battle, not so difficult. You could kind of the final boss will summon a lot of the kind of dark versions of the demons you've captured, but you can pretty much ignore them. The boss will summon them. If you kill them, the boss will just summon more and keep summoning more and more. So if you just ignore them and focus on the boss, you can get through it pretty quickly. Actually, it didn't take that long, and it wasn't incredibly difficult. There were more difficult bosses earlier in the game than the final boss, I'd say. But beyond that, it was overall pretty good game. And I want to say, it's not like the best dungeon crawler I played. Even recently, Etrian Odyssey 4 was better and more in depth with the kind of customization you could do. But it's a good kind of start for this. It's not really a start, but it's a good kind of first-person dungeon crawler on the Vita, which the Vita doesn't really have any at the moment. I think this is the only one. And I'm still kind of in the air about this company for Demon Gaze and Kadokawa Games making these, and that I'm still iffy on the system that they use for this. I'm not in love with it. I don't hate it. It's just kind of mediocre to me. This game is good, and Students of the Round was good too, but not great. And this is also not incredible, but it's good. It's good enough that I wanted to finish it, and I wanted to figure out what happened in the story, and wanted to, get into the game more. But it's not like Etrian Odyssey or something where it's kind of an obsession for a little while, which I did get into this a lot at Demon Gaze, and I will buy their next game, or the port to the Vita of Labyrinth Cross Blood, which is currently only on the Xbox 360 in Japan, and on the PC I believe also, but it's a little different. Anyway, this video is a little long, and I kind of rambled on about Demon Gaze a bit, probably too much. But anyway, it's new. It's a new kind of surprise hit, I want to say, in Japan. Demon Gaze here was good and good enough to buy. I would recommend it if you like first-person dungeon crawlers, and I wouldn't recommend it as your first-person dungeon crawler, but as a first-person dungeon crawler in general, it's good. And if you like the genre, you'll like Demon Gaze. But it was a surprise hit, and it is currently pretty much sold out everywhere. They sold out entirely of their first shipment, which wasn't a ton, but like it sold about 50,000 copies so far, and they ran out of copies, so they probably could sell more if they can. They have to print more, I guess, because they just ran out. But none of my local stores have it anymore, and you know, it's kind of good for them. I hope they sell a lot more. So, and I hope more first-person dungeon crawlers, always a good thing. So anyway, that's enough. I will catch you guys next time.